Some of you probably don't even know what this is, but man, if this came out a decade earlier, people would have been talking about this for years. So, to give you the backstory of the making of this movie, Fanboys was an idea created years ago in Hollywood, back in the 90s. Probably around 1995, they were pitching this idea of, oh, what if a bunch of friends were to go to the Skywalker Ranch, George Lucas's house, and try to get an early screening of The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. And also, the group of friends go on this adventure and have one last good ride. However, unfortunately, the reasoning behind going through this journey is because one of the characters unfortunately had cancer. There was a lot of ideas of doing this movie, and it was supposed to come out in 1995, 6, 7, 8. The point is, it was supposed to come out right before The Phantom Menace. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and a lot of that was blamed to Harvey Weinstein, who hated the idea of, a movie about a guy with cancer going on one last journey with his friends to go get an early screening of The Phantom Menace. People hated Harvey Weinstein because of it. Not like the hate he gets now, but um, in the process, years go by. The Star Wars prequel trilogy had just ended, and there were still runnings of doing this movie, and they never went that route until the fans were fighting for it. People got an early screening of it. Test screenings were loving it, but not to the level that Harvey Weinstein wanted. And then eventually, fans fought hard, and Harvey Weinstein just said, screw it, the nerds win. Those were his words, not mine. He let Kyle Newman finish this movie. However, he only had a limited amount of time to truly finish the version that he wanted. But also, the marketing for this movie was terrible. First of all, if you watched any of the trailers before this movie, you basically saw the whole movie. Not only that, there was a limited amount of theaters to watch this movie, and basically Harvey's reasoning was, if people are such a big fan of this concept, then they'll go watch it. And it's unfortunate because in the process, this movie did unfortunately suffer because of it. And for years, no one knew what this was. So the way I came about this movie was, if you are subscribed to YouTube, you know that sometimes they're giving you free movies, and Fanboys was fortunately one of those free movies, and I was always wondering what this was. I remember seeing this poster back in the day, and I assumed it was just one of those stupid parodies that were being released around this time. And sure enough, I got a chance to sit down and watch it. I checked reviews, and it was you know, decent, not horrible. And then fortunately, I got a chance to sit down and watch it, and yeah, I was very satisfied with this movie. It's not a masterpiece or one of the greatest movies of all time, but it was a fun watch. I will say that this came out at a inconvenient timing. This was released in February 6, 2009. Now, around this point, Star Wars fandom was over. The prequels had just wrapped up. The MCU was on the way. The Dark Knight became one of the biggest movies around this time. So superheroes were picking up, and sci-fi fiction was dying down. And even these type of comedies, they were already being taken over by stuff like Superbad, Knocked Up, and even The Hangover this year. And unfortunately, Fanboy suffered because of it. It came out at a very wrong time, and no one really got to see it. People who did see it said it was pretty good, and I'm one of those people that also enjoyed it. So the movie stars four friends played by Dan Fogel, Jay Baruchel, Sam Huntington, and Chris Marquette, whose character is the one who is unfortunately suffering from cancer. And this movie takes place sometime in 1998. The friends reunite at a party where everybody except Sam Huntington's character are dressed like stormtroopers. He's all in a suit because, he kind of outgrew uh, being super nerdy. He is running a car dealership with his family, and he's just too grown for this. And however, at one point, all four of these guys were best friends. They hung out all the time. Three of them still do. One of them kind of moved on from it. But after the news of Linus in this movie, finding out that he has cancer and will unfortunately miss episode 1 of Star Wars, um, they decide to go on this quest to go to the Skywalker Ranch. They have a whole map with everything, and then in the process, they basically are on this journey to try to get a chance to watch The Phantom Menace, aka Episode 1, a little bit earlier than everybody else. So the four friends go on this journey, and you get to learn a little bit about them. Windows, who was played by Jay Baruchel, is this nerdy guy who really wants a girlfriend, but no one can really connect with him because he is too nerdy. He finds this girl online, little that he knows that it's actually a child that he's been talking to on the internet, and it just becomes into a very awkward situation, which is unfortunately something that will not hold up today. If this joke was written down right now, people would have probably burned the movie to shreds. Hutch is this Rush fan who is very dorky. Again, he has the potential of running his own business, but he just is too lazy and too focused on just nerd stuff. Eric, who is this guy who has great potential of writing good comics. He's an excellent drawer, but he never got to that potential. He just kind of settled down into running this car dealership with his dad, who was played by Christopher McDonald, aka Shooter McGavin. Um, all these characters were very interesting. The only one that unfortunately wasn't that interesting was Linus, who is the guy who is the one suffering from cancer. They do focus the least on him, but it's very clear that Linus and Eric were very close at one point until Eric had outgrown the friendship. Kristen Bell also makes an appearance in this movie. She eventually joins the boys. She works with Windows, and then in the process, they fall in love, and then they hook up by the end of this movie. She's actually like the cool one out of the group. She's like the more tough one, but also she's into nerd and pop cultures and stuff like that. And yeah, we go through this road trip comedy basically, and there's a lot of cool pit stops. One of the things that I never got to talk about in this series is Trekkies. Yes, we do talk about Trekkies, and I love that Seth Rogen plays this Star Trek nerd that is so into Star Trek. He knows the language. He has giant teeth. They make him so dorky, and Hutch is constantly mocking him. And then it leads to a big fight between the boys and the Trekkies, calling Han Solo a bitch. He destroys Khan's statue, and then he takes off. Even the van, has a bunch of Star Wars designs, and even has an R2D2. There's a part where they crash a sign, and it looks like Darth Vader's face. Um, and even in this movie, there's a part where they stop to Vegas, and then you get a guy who's willing to help the boys get into the Skywalker Ranch. And sure enough, that person is William Shatner, which is very fitting considering he is the competition. William Shatner, of course, he played Captain Kirk, so it was really cool to see him. There's a part where Windows and Hutch meet these girls, and turns out they're escorts. And then the process, the pimp just so happens to be Seth Rogen yet again, but this time he plays like also a Star Wars fanboy. This is definitely one of the few jokes that worked because we already got the prequel trilogy, but he gets a tattoo of Jar Jar Binks, and he's talking about like that guy's gonna be the shit. And it's funny because we all know Jar Jar sucks, and there was a lot of good cameos in this movie as well. Billy D. Williams appears as a judge. Carrie Fisher is the doctor in this movie. I already mentioned William Shatner. Jay and Silent Bob appear, not as those guys, but just like as gas station guys. So there's a lot of cool cameos that work out. Unfortunately, the trailer did spoil all of these. Luckily, I never saw the trailer before I saw this movie because I would have taken you out of it. But the main thing that people want me to talk about is how does Skywalker Ranch look like? Well, they make it to the house. There's a part where they fall in this dumpster, and then it's similar to A New Hope, which is funny. Eventually, they do get their hands on the movie, but they get stopped by security, and they all threaten to break stuff from the house. Eventually, they all get uh, stopped for questioning if whether or not they are nerds or a bunch of criminals, like they didn't know what it was. I love the part where Danny McBride's character is talking to George Lucas, and the guys are freaking out like, "Oh my God, it's George Lucas!" And then they're like, "Shh, shut up." He eventually questions them all, and then in the process, Linus is the only one that gets to watch the Phantom Menace, which is fitting since he is the one that had the cancer and was gonna pass away eventually. But he doesn't spoil the movie for them. Instead, he just gives them another year to like wait for the movie to come out. But this road trip kind of helped the boys develop and to be grown up for once. Not just you know still have that inner child in them, but be adults about it. And I really love that message. It does have a sad, sour ending with Linus, but it was kind of like the whole point of the movie of making you feel sympathy for these characters, and it's pretty cool. Um, Majority of these actors do go on to do bigger and better things for themselves around this time. Um, but yeah, it is unfortunate because if this movie had come out in 1997 or 1998, it would have been a very fitting time. Around this time, we were getting raunchy comedies like Clerks and American Pie. This would have fit in right there with those type of movies. And who knows, people would have been talking about this movie for years to come. It's just unfortunate with all the stuff. This movie is even written as if it took place in 1997 or 1998. They don't shy away from it. Obviously, some jokes work because the prequels had already happened. Even the final joke, where they are finally sitting down to ready to watch the movie, and in the process they go, "Hey, what if the movie sucks?" And that's where the movie shuts off. It's a very fun ride. It's a very underrated movie. It's just unfortunate that it came out at the time that it did, and I hope that more people find this movie because it's really fun and it's very enjoyable. I'm giving this movie a B. It's not one of the greatest movies of all time, but it's a fun watch, and I really enjoyed watching these characters, watching this road trip, and overall it was just fun. It just brought me um into a fun place, and I was very happy with this movie. So I can't recommend it anymore. It is one of the most underrated comedies of all time, and you should go out of your way to check it out. But now, the most anticipated videos in this series, the sequel trilogy. We're gonna kick off tomorrow with The Force Awakens. How does this movie hold up after 11 years? Stay tuned to find out tomorrow.